What's up, Buttercup? My name's Micah, and I started a marketing company, and I'm here to help you. If you're a marketing creative, graphic designer, or freelancer, this is your design brief. Alright guys, this is a fun topic today that I want to bring to the table, and that is the idea of how do I build a brand strategy. This is something I think that in recent years with the rise in content creation and influencers, the idea of marketing principles and marketing strategies really gotten convoluted through the years. I'm hoping that this can be a very practical, quick video that you can look to help you come up with long-term strategies for whatever client you're working. Now, with that being said, there is some foundational vocabulary I want to go ahead and define now in this video before we actually start looking at some of the principles that I think you can implement to get yourself the success you're looking for. So here are the words that you might hear me say throughout this video. The first one is brand strategy. Now, when I'm talking about brand strategy, I'm talking about the long-term strategy for a company. If you were to take a company and put them in a novel, what would the feel of that novel be? Would it be a comedy or a tragedy? What would the wins be? What's the personality of the company? These are all things that are dictated by the brand strategy in the long-term format. And ultimately, this is the thing that I want you looking at as a marketer, because we want long-term clients. If you're working as a marketer, graphic designer, or a freelancer, you know the most difficult thing is going to be new leads, new client acquisition. The best thing you can do for yourself is to build long-term relationships, and that's done by looking at brand strategies, helping them build out their long-term story. Now, the next term you're going to maybe hear me use is marketing strategy. This is absolutely different than a brand strategy because we're looking at a shorter term outlook. Consider a marketing campaign. Those may last 1 quarter or a month or a year, depending on the type of strategy you're looking at. But ultimately, they're shorter. We're looking at specific metrics for that, specific avenues. It's a chapter in that book. The last thing you may hear me use is marketing mix. And this is actually a pretty common phrase that's been around since about the 1960s. There was a guy named E. Jerome McCarthy who quite literally wrote the book on basic marketing. In his book, he does outline some principles that we're actually going to go over today. Now, this has been updated a little bit, but marketing mix is referring to the methodology or the mix that you're using in your plan to market your product. You're trying to come up with the right mix of certain marketing principles in order to actually achieve success. Now, the principles that we're using in this video are coming directly from McCarthy's book. He originally created the 4 Ps of marketing. Now, since then, a lot of things have changed. The internet became a thing, and the landscape of marketing is vastly different than it was 60 years ago. So throughout the years, this list has grown, and what I'm going to have in this video are actually going to be 7 Ps, 7 principles that you can use to implement your long-term brand strategy and help you with your shorter-term marketing campaign or marketing strategies. This video is meant to be practical, brass tacks advice on how you can implement these 7 principles today by asking the right questions to create your pitch or your marketing plan moving forward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so the first P is going to be product. And this is going to seem pretty foundational, but it is the very first thing you want to start with when you're looking at your brand strategy. Is your product relevant? What need is it fulfilling? What are clients saying about this product? As a marketer, I do think it's important to ask yourself the question, would I use this product? I can't tell you the number of times where I've dealt with smaller clients and I've had to sit down with them and say, look, I don't think you're ready for me. And it's not because I don't want their money. It's not that I don't want to grow my business, but it is because they weren't able to articulate to me what actually sets their product apart. So as the marketer, that's a little bit difficult. How am I supposed to market a product if I can't communicate what makes it different, what need it's actually solving, or how it's helping the intended consumer? This is just as important with the bigger client too. Sometimes the most important thing you can bring to a bigger client isn't just the services that you offer, but your opinion as a consumer and an outside voice. and saying, look, this is the problem it's solving. This is what it could be solving. This is how it's no longer relevant in today's world. These are all things that a company needs to assess if it wants to stay relevant in the world we live in. Because if one thing is true in marketing, it's that the strategy you use today almost certainly isn't going to work next year, in 20 years, in 30 years. The marketplace is evolving. So define the product, understand the company's values, understand the targeted consumer, see why it was created and how it's supposed to help. The second P is price. Price, like product, is a fundamental thing that you need to understand before any brand strategy can be created, because ultimately it directly feeds into the overall tone and profitability of your strategy. If you're selling to a luxury market, the prices should reflect a luxury brand. If you're selling to the everyday consumer, likewise. So make sure that you've defined it. If things need to change, discuss that with your client. Express your concerns, always from a place of business perspective. If prices should be raised, explain why you think that they should be raised and how you think that the offset of the price outweighs the potential loss of clientele. These are things that you can assist with before you even start picking up their marketing or implementing designs. The third P is place. Now, this is a little bit more difficult to explain than it was in the 1960s because, hey, you could sell literally anywhere. You can get it to anyone at any place in today's world. That being said, you do still need to define some sort of proverbial place that you're selling on. What is your target? What is it that they're actually selling? Are they selling a service? Is that service to another business? Well, maybe you need to consider avenues that promote business-to-business sales as opposed to other avenues. They don't necessarily have to be physical places, but you do need to be thinking in terms of your audience. Where do they live? What is their social networking? Where are they most likely to visit? That's how you're going to connect with your targeted consumer. The fourth P that I want you to look at is people. And this is really where we can start getting into actually developing and creating your brand strategy. We need to define a target audience and we need to get specific with it. Now, that's not to say that you're not selling to everyone or your service may not be for everyone. But if you're targeting a specific individual, if that certain individual is most likely to buy the product, that's who we want to go after. For instance, Starbucks for years had a targeted persona of the 30-something entrepreneur that's tech savvy. And what happened with Starbucks? They were one of the first to develop a mobile app. That mobile app allowed you to order online. This specifically targeted people that were on the go, busy, making things happen, and also were tech savvy. Now, you may realize Starbucks mobile app is used by pretty much everyone today, but that was the spearheaded moment. They found their targeted audience, they found their voice, and they marketed it, and they had huge success with it. Everything about Starbucks in the 2000s was meant to be a place where that specific individual would feel comfortable. They had Wi-Fi. They encouraged you to stay there, but they kept it tech savvy and kept it on the go. So at any moment, if I needed to jump in, get my coffee, and move on to the next thing, I could. Now that you know who you're talking to, you want to think about positioning. Instead of just focusing on who we are and what we sell, positioning focuses on what are people going to think about us. Ambition theory says this: people will think about something in terms of a singular attribute, whether that's positive or negative. If I were to say Mercedes-Benz, you may be thinking high quality engineering. If I were to say Louis Vuitton, you may think luxury. All of these things have particular attributes, and the good marketer understands that we want to pay attention to the voice and the tone of how we say things. How do we want to be remembered? You can come up with external factors. In fact, I would actually encourage you to come up with a list of adjectives that you think would adequately describe your client. Once you've created that list, work that list down from 10 to 5, from 5 to 3, until you finally come up with that one word that you can present to the client of, this is what, for this year, for this month, for X number of years, we want your company to be remembered by. And everything we do in terms of our marketing, whether it's digital, paper, and email, however we send it out, it's going to go through the lens of this tone. The next thing we're going to want to look at is promotion. Promotion is the avenues through which you're actually trying to promote whatever that product is. This can be as much of an art form as it is a science, but it is good to have methodology in place when you're coming to promotions. This is why I've left this to be one of the very last of the 7 principles that we're going over, because I do want you to consider the voice, the product, the price before we ever get to the promotion. This is something that all of those things combined are going to give you the answer. Where are we going to sell this? How are we going to present it? A good copywriter knows that changing a headline can increase sales as much as 500%. So, what are you saying? And where are you saying it? These are things that you're going to have to experiment with. Look at your persona, the people that you have created that you want to sell to. Look at your product, look at your prices, and look at where you're going to be putting the marketing dollars. If you already have a history of this, experiment. See where things were effective and things were not effective. Alright guys, you've made it this far, and we're down to the last P. The last P is packaging. Again, good marketers know that packaging is so vital. Within the first 30 seconds of looking at something, people have already made a judgment off of it. So packaging is something that you'll want to consider too. Now with smaller clients, this may be something that has to evolve with time. With bigger clients, this is going to be a very vital step. Either way, it's something that you want to voice and show concern in to make sure that you're effectively using marketing dollars. You can put something on a shelf, you can advertise it online, but if it doesn't speak properly to the positioning, to the intended people that you want to sell to, or articulate properly the type of product that it is, you're going to run into issues. This is something that if you can get a hold of, is going to separate good brands from great brands. Great brands have great packaging. Think about it this way. Recently, the brand Liquid Death, a canned water company, was valued at $700 million. Why? Was their product dramatically different from anything else? No. Their packaging was. Guys, had to change location, but I wanted to say thanks for watching this video. I hope this breakdown of the 7 P's of marketing really helped you. And although I didn't say at the beginning of this video is one of many in a playlist meant to help freelancers, creative marketers find their voice in promoting marketing. More to come. If you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up or subscribe. Until then, I'll see you next time.